All right, we got a water. How much time we have?
You got about 4 minutes.
All right. Can anybody hear me? Get in that chat. I'm about to go live on Raider Nation Radio. Anybody in that chat? Someone's in that chat. Let me know you can hear me. I would appreciate that as we're about to go live. Here we go. Here we go. We can hear you. I guess that's all that matters. Let me know what you think of this YouTube live, man. We'll do more of this. All right, Bobby, we're ready to go. Oh, look at that. We got people here, man. How big are we going to build this YouTube live, man? We are going to build this big. All right. All right, Bobby, how's this? Ooh, I don't like this. I don't like. What is this looking like?
That's where the 2 usually sits.
We are running commercials for Live Golf. Wow. All right. Good to see everybody in the chat. I'm worked up today. This is going to be good. Bobby, let's hear how that sounds over the top, please.
It's time for JT the Break.
Yeah.
Every one of these games is going to pain in the ass. Every game is like a nightmare. Catch the ball. Tackle.
It's a new day. It's a new chapter. It's a new era. It's a new mindset.
A lot of Raider fans want to change. We got to change.
Our intention of how we play, the execution of our play, the mindset of our team. That's what we're looking for.
This is a turn in the right direction for the Raiders organization, and I'm pumped about it.
I get right to the point, black and white. You know how I feel when I walk out the door.
I think the Raider fans are happy for a reset.
I'm not a long-winded person. I don't get here give you a dialogue or write an essay.
This guy's ready to roll. He's not messing around. He wants to win.
Raider Nation, our fan base, our alumni base, everybody come blacked out. That black hole get rock and rolling. As I always say, you show up and we'll show out.
JT the Break.
Unbelievable energy, hyped up, ready to go. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
What is that mindset? It's that of the Raider pride, commitment to excellence, and making sure our alumni, our fan base, and Raider Nation are proud of what they see on the field.
And now,
I'm glad you used your homework. That's the same thing I told our players.
here's JT the Break.
Out of the gate, JT, as we open up the show and we are ready to roll here. Out of the gate, JT, as we are ready to open up the show here on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m., and we are live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube, and everybody should get in the YouTube page, JT the Brick, YT. You can get in there. We already got a bunch of people in there. Good to see it. And something new we're trying out here, and I'm going to do more of this, and I'm ready to roll with this. Everybody's moving to live streams. I've been doing this 27 years, and when I do it from home or I do it on my stream somewhere else, the podcast, all that, we get good reaction to that. So if you get a chance, jump on YouTube and just go to JT the Brick, YT, as we open up the show. And we got a lot to cover today. I'm worked up. I'm worked up because when I got off the air yesterday, Jim Harbaugh was not official with the Chargers, and now he is official with the Chargers. That's the focus of my monologue, brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue 5 to 7, midnight to 2. That's the best happy hour in town. If you're coming into Vegas, anywhere around the world, 64 plus taverns here, food, drink specials, PTs. They get me going here with the monologue. So what I wanted to do today, my initial plan, if you want to get in our chat or you want to call the show, is 702-365-9200, was to review the Raider press conference yesterday. Tom Telesco, we welcome him into the Raider Nation in a massive way. Antonio Pierce, who we told you was a lock. I repeat, a lock to get the job. He got the job. They had a joint press conference. Mark Davis introduced him. There was a lot of hype in the building, a lot of media, local and national, and I thought they both did pretty well. There was some light moments that we'll get to. Antonio Pierce putting up 63 on Tom's former team. I thought Tom Telesco made it very clear to the Raider Nation. He wants to work for a winner, right? He wants to work for a winner. He wants to win. And who wants to win more now in the Raider Nation other than Mark Davis, the black hole, the diehard Raider fans, and Tom Telesco? I watched it again this morning, and it jumped out at me. This is a legacy play for Tom Telesco. He's already had a really good legacy if you look at his Indianapolis Colts years, the Peyton Manning years, if you look at the Bill Polian years and the history in Buffalo and what he's done. He's had a pretty good career. Then he was with the San Diego Chargers. I lived in San Diego for 8 years before he was there, but he took over. He was a San Diego Charger, went to LA, and overall he drafted pretty well. He did draft some star players, and that's what he's brought to do now here for the Silver and Black. Raiders got good players. They have fourth-round picks like Max Crosby. They have some other players who are drafted late who are making the team. It's the job now of Tom Telesco to take the remaining players on the roster from Reggie McKenzie, and Derek Carr was the big one there. Then you go to Mike Mayock. Then you go to Dave Ziegler. Take those players that are already established in the building and then bring in new players via the draft and free agency that could bring the Raiders to greatness. That's the goal. And he has a long-term plan because this is not a one-and-done guy. The guy worked in LA with the Chargers. He knows the limitations of the Charger brand. Did you see the look on Tom Telesco's face when they asked him about, commitment to excellence, pride and poise, and what he saw in the building? Look, the Chargers should have the best practice facility in the world. They're in LA. Okay, they are the subtenant of the Rams who play at SoFi. So if you add up all of that, Tom Telesco comes into our building yesterday and looks around and is like, oh my God. He's been to Allegiant Stadium. He knows the power of Allegiant Stadium. But he looked at the building, and I think his mind exploded when he looked at it and said, man, this is something else. And then he has an owner in Mark Davis, and you can be critical of Mark for his winning percentage and what you want Mark to do and some of the hirings in the past. We have no problem on this show of talking about this as long as you're respectful to the owner on the flagship station. That's all we ask. Be respectful. Don't make it personal. And Mark Davis will give Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce whatever the hell they want to win. Mark's not going to send him out of his office and go, no, you can't get that player, or you can't trade up to get that player. Whatever these gentlemen want to do, if it's well sought out and it's a good plan, Mark Davis is going to greenlight it. And Tom Telesco did not have that. He had it at times, but he didn't have that with Dean and John Spanos. He didn't. Everybody knows that. So now I'm looking at this differently. After the press conference, and I haven't met Tom yet, but we welcome him to the Raider Nation. Now he has an opportunity to be in a much more comfortable environment. And I don't mean the cigar parties after the victory and people having fun and what the Raiders do in Vegas, which is second to none. Now Tom Telesco could work for an organization once led by Al Davis with 3 Super Bowls, Lombardi's already, and go there and take this team to where others tried but couldn't take them to. That, to me, is really encouraging. I mean, that looks really good. I hope that Raider Nation understands that you might have wanted Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick. You didn't like the Patriot way. I get all that. I'm at the front of the gates of the Raider Nation right here. But you got to give this guy everything like we've done with everyone else. We did the same show for Mike Mayock. When Mike Mayock joined me first, we said, hey, let's get behind Mike. And the Raider fans did. And then it didn't work out. It ended. You move on to the next guy. But Tom Telesco has the opportunity now to embrace the Raider Nation, which he did yesterday, understand the current culture of the Raiders, which is Antonio Pierce. For obvious reasons, it's Max Crosby, it's Devontae Adams. There's some good players on this team, and then do what Tom Telesco is going to do. And I don't know what he's going to do. I have no idea. I don't know him. He's either going to go big game hunting, okay, which I think he should. I think with his reputation in this league of knowing every other GM around the league, because he's a tenured GM as he came to the Raiders, go big game hunting for a quarterback or a right tackle pro bowler from another team. Do whatever you want to do, because I'm going to get behind it, because this team didn't make the playoffs, but they have a playoff roster if they nail this offseason and they have a good draft. And I don't know what direction they're going to go in. They still haven't hired an offensive coordinator yet. And there's a lot of rumors on who could be the next OC and what's going to happen there. So with all of this, as we open up the show, I thought that Tom Telesco did a pretty good job yesterday, because AP had the stage, Antonio Pierce. I got to stop that. I don't call him AP. He's coach. The head coach had the stage yesterday. He controlled that room. He's got the job. You could tell how comfortable Antonio Pierce was with his family in the front row. Said he had an uncle from Bermuda who was there. I mean, it was a big, big day for Antonio Pierce. It was a monster day for him, because he was announced as a head coach in the NFL. And he has a Super Bowl ring with the Giants. He's a Pro Bowler. He's accomplished a lot. Big bleeping day for Antonio Pierce. And I thought Tom Telesco did a nice job understanding what that day was about, welcoming him, his wife, the family, saying, you're a Raider now. And now Tom Telesco saying, you know something, I've been on the other side. I was in the enemy compound of the Chargers, and I haven't got to Harbaugh yet. Okay, so let me get rolling here, because I got a lot to say on this. Tom Telesco came from the Chargers. Most of the Raider Nation, the fans, not the owner, not the executives, the Raider fans don't like the Chargers, and they don't even acknowledge them. Raider Nation is trying to hunt down the Kansas City Chiefs like a big game hunting trip that you go on a safari for. The Raiders are trying to hunt down the Kansas City Chiefs and keep them out of our town for the Super Bowl. And Denver, we won 8 in a row against Denver. The last I looked is everybody's praising Sean Payton. Did we not sweep Sean Payton with Josh McDaniels week 1 in the last game with Antonio Pierce? Denver's going to be amazing. No, they're not going to be amazing. Denver's got huge cap problems with Russell Wilson. They don't have a great roster. I've been telling you that. But one thing I told you on this broadcast every bleeping day and on my national show, I've told you that the Chargers have had a really good roster, better than the Raiders. But what I would sit back in amazement, I would always say to myself, how come these guys are never healthy? Whenever I go to SoFi to see the Chargers Raiders, or San Diego before that, or they come to Allegiant, no one's ever healthy. Derwin James is out. Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, one of them are out, or both of them are out. Someone's always hurt. That's not Tom Telesco's fault that guys get hurt. And the stars that they have on the Chargers always led me to say, always, the Chargers have a better roster than the Raiders. No debate. That's the point. And the Raiders have still been able to split with them. Raiders knocked them out of the playoffs. Remember that epic final game of the year? Probably the greatest moment in the young Allegiant Stadium. And then the Raiders put 63 on the Chargers. So I think the Raider Nation is good. With Tom Telesco now coming in and going, I got a lot of experience, man. I've done this a long time in an environment. I don't think it was a stable environment. Dean Spanos, John Spanos, they were not great for Tom Telesco, and I'm hoping Mark Davis is much better for Tom Telesco, knowing Mark, and it's knowing that Mark's going to give him what he needs. But now Tom Telesco has an opportunity to be a part of Raider Nation, embrace the brand, which he did, understand that he's got a unique guy next to him in Antonio Pierce, man. This guy comes in, you'll run through a wall for him. And I don't know if Tom Telesco's that type of guy. He seems to be more low-key, which is great because he's an executive and he's going to be in charge of the football operations as the GM. And I thought he did a great job yesterday. I thought he did a nice job yesterday. That was not an easy room for him because Antonio Pierce takes all the oxygen in a good way. And he reminds you that we're the Raiders. And he's brand new and he grew up a Raider fan. Tom Telesco took that environment and said, here's what I'm going to do. No, Antonio, you can tell them what you think. You can finish this. And I thought they had a really good first day together. So that's what I wanted to open up with. All right, the second thing is I've been telling you from day one, if Jim Harbaugh was a Raider, which he was a Raider in the past, he had his first job after retirement as a Raider. If Jim Harbaugh would have came to the Raiders, a lot of Raider fans would have been happy and we would have welcomed Jim Harbaugh to the Raiders. Of course we would have. If he was the head coach of the Raiders, he didn't get an interview. And I don't know what the conversations were behind the scenes. He goes back with Mark a long way. And the Raiders did not interview Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick is still looking for a job, and he is the de facto greatest coach of all time. No debate on that one either. But the Chargers got Jim Harbaugh yesterday, and Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Good for him. Jim Harbaugh's family, everybody involved there, congratulations. It's a great opportunity for him because Harbaugh is going to a city that has little to no brand. They have none. The Chargers are probably at the best, the sixth most important brand in a city that has 12 teams. Just because they're in the NFL, you could debate that they're farther down the ladder than that. And Jim Harbaugh is a hell of a coach. He is a really good football coach. So is Andy Reid, and so is Sean Payton. They're all very good. Okay, two of them have Super Bowls in Reid and Payton, and Harbaugh was very close to getting one in a Super Bowl and has recently won a national championship. But I will say this, that it did not move the needle in LA because I talked to people in LA today, two sports talk radio hosts who were on the air yesterday, and I did my research as I always do before the show, and it didn't move the needle as much as you would think. Compare it to Shohei Ohtani, different sport. Compare it to some of the other players, Anthony Davis when he came to the Lakers. It moved the needle, obviously, a little bit, but it didn't move the needle to the level of Raider Nation hype. Not with this current regime, but just the history of the Raiders playing in the biggest games with the greatest players and all that. The Chargers barely moved the needle on this. They will. Harbaugh will get with Justin Herbert, who is not a good quarterback. He is, I think, a great quarterback with great quarterback talent that hasn't played to his potential yet. And I've seen him play some games here in Vegas, still blew my mind. Harbaugh is going to fix that, just as there was a new coach announced today in Carolina who's going to try to fix Bryce Young. Okay, Harbaugh is going to fix Justin Herbert. But let me remind you again, before the media and the same shills in the media, and some call me a Raiders shill, I'm great with that. See, I even wear the Raider colors here. They've taken care of me and my family for 25 years, and they have pure loyalty for me. Loyalty for me to try to help this brand get to the promised land in whatever way I can do. That will never be argued. I'm not a Charger guy, never been one. And when I look at the Chargers and the competition, we, the Raider Nation, brought in Tom Telesco, who I think did a pretty good job drafting for the Chargers. The Chargers failed after that because of their coaches, who weren't elite coaches. So Antonio Pierce is going to have to prove to Tom Telesco, now that he's a head coach, that he can become an elite coach with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh. That's all on Antonio Pierce. He's got to do that. And the only way that's going to come through is wins and losses. How many games did he win? How many did he lose? Antonio Pierce deservingly got this job, as we told you, because he won games after Josh McDaniels got fired on a team that could have went south and went the other way and could have went into the tank. And they didn't. They played really good for Antonio Pierce. And Antonio Pierce didn't have an offensive coordinator. Bo Hardigree, we wish him well. You know, he didn't know how to call plays at a level of even Josh McDaniels or Cliff Kingsbury or Alex Van Pelt and all the other people that are interviewing for jobs now. And Antonio Pierce found a way for the Raiders to put up 63 on the Chargers. So as I wrap up this monologue, I want to again say to our YouTube live stream, JT the Brick YT, you're inside the Raider Nation right now. You're inside the Raider Nation. And to our audience that listens to us on the Raiders mobile app, I did not flinch with any of these coaching hires by other teams. Andy Reid's at a different level. We acknowledge him. We acknowledge him for his greatness in Kansas City, and we have to take down Kansas City, the Swifties. We got to take out the Swifties. We got to take out the Kelsey brothers now, not just one Kelsey. We got to take out all this garbage, all the TV commercials they're on every 10 minutes, all of this stuff. We got to take them out. We are the front line of the infantry that has got to slow down Kansas City. We did on Christmas Day at Arrowhead, led by Aiden O'Connell, beating them on Christmas Day, which cost Kansas City an opportunity to have the AFC Championship game at home or another home game, but they won in Buffalo. Give all the flowers you want to Kansas City. I want to keep them out of Vegas. But when it comes to Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton, I respect their legacies. I do. But I know the Raiders and what's going on in the building now, and the Raiders are fine. They got a GM who's going to go big game hunting. He's going to go shark hunting. We have a GM now that's going to work his ass off to get better players for the Raiders. We have an owner who's completely committed to give this guy whatever he wants. And we got Antonio Pierce that knows the only way he's going to remain the head coach years from now is taking this team to the playoffs in a Super Bowl. It's all set. It's the AFC West. The AFC West is bleeping loaded. And the Chargers roster, which is strong from the former GM, Tom Telesco, it's a strong roster. It's still a good roster. They got cap problems. Jim Harbaugh doesn't have a coaching staff yet. He's going to get some good coaches to come in there, some from college. Sean Payton's got a mess on his hands in Denver, an absolute mess. The cap is a disaster. His roster wasn't that good. I told you the Denver roster wasn't any good, but you listen to the guys on national radio who every year throw darts and say, oh, this is the year Denver's going to the AFC Championship. What? You're going to hear that garbage again. Sean Payton's going to have a press conference and someone on their national show is going to say, this is the year of Denver. And I'm going to come on the radio and go, why? Do they have Max Crosby? Do they have Devontae Adams? Who do they have? And we're going to have to go through this nonsense again. But the Chargers are going to be legit. Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers is going to be a problem for the Raiders. The Raiders only play him 2 days a year out of 365. 2 days a year. All the Raiders have to do on those 2 days is be better than the Chargers, be healthier than them, make more plays, get a pick six off a tip, pick six, Jack Jones the other way, and Jim Harbaugh will lose to the Raiders. But Jim Harbaugh is going to be a problem, just like Sean Payton's going to be a problem, and Andy Reid is a problem. And I think Raider Nation should embrace that, and circle around each other. Welcome Tom Telesco. Welcome the whole new organization when it gets rebuilt in whatever way it does. There's new coaches coming in here, and embrace the fact that the Raiders don't bend the knee. The Raiders don't bend the knee to anybody out there. Raiders are fine. They got the coach they wanted, so much so that they didn't even have to formally interview Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick. We'll see how that plays out. And Harbaugh going to the Chargers, he'll start from scratch. He'll have them up and running pretty quickly. And Sean Payton, I'm not sweating hard on Sean Payton. This is not Sean Payton with Drew Brees 10 years ago, okay? It's not. So Raider Nation unite. That's the monologue. Brought to you by Modelo. Oh, the number one beer in America. Bobby, when we started our partnership with Modelo, they were not the number one beer in America. Now they are the number one beer in America. Raise a pint for Modelo, and we'll get you rolling right here. All right, thanks for everybody on this YouTube stream. It looks really cool. I want to give all the credit to my son for doing this too. My son, who's got a cool new job out of college and doing a lot of cool stuff. He says, Dad, you got to do the YouTube, man. Got to do the YouTube. All right, son, we're doing the YouTube, and hopefully people will do this. I don't know if I'm going to do it every single show, but now that I figured out how to do it and pressing a button on YouTube, it looks pretty good. Chris in West Oakland, whenever he's available, he leads us off on the flagship.
Yeah, I love the YouTube. I'm able to go back and watch some of it. And I'll just throw it out there if you ever want to get something to tell. I'll make myself available anytime you want me to fly into Vegas.
Yes.
Sit there, shotgun with you. So, look, we'll talk about, first off, I didn't get a call earlier in the week. Congratulations to Coach Bears. Well deserved. And you made a point about you saying Dr. John because he won. I don't think it's totally that. They went 5-4. It's the way he led this group. The way this season could have gone south, and he didn't let it. The way these players would run through a brick wall for him. There's two coaches in the NFL sometimes, JD. There's your X's and O guys, and there's your leaders of men. You're really elite guys or both. I don't know that Coach Pierce is the greatest X's and O guy. You haven't had a chance to prove it yet. We're going to hire good coordinators. This guy's a leader of men. He reminds me a lot of Dan Campbell and look what's going on in Detroit. A player that guy was an ex-player. Guys still get down in the trenches, do up downs. He'll get with the guys in the weight room. He just looks like a guy that well, we know for evidence already, they'll run through a brick wall for him. I think the Raiders made the right hire. Let's get to work, Coach Pierce. And Telesco, I love the hire, JT. I'm old enough, like the Mort guys. We remember when the AFC West was like the Wild West. Anytime somebody got fired or let go, they went to another AFC West team because all they wanted to do was kick the crap out of the team that let them go. I like that about Telesco. I like this guy drafted Justin Herbert. I think it's going to be a really good hire. I like some of the drafts. Again, I don't know about all the health issues in the Chargers. Not all his fault. I do like some of the drafts. He drafted Justin Herbert. I think going forward, it's going to be a really, really good hire. I will say this, though, JT. I agree with what you said. I've got more phone calls coming in the coming weeks, what I think they should do. First and foremost, big game hunting. You got it. We're not going to compete in this division. Kansas City has Reed and Mahomes. The Chargers have Harbaugh and Herbert now. Harbaugh's been to three conference championship games in a row with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback and the Super Bowl. All due respect to Aiden O'Connell, there's nothing special about him. You don't develop what Patrick Mahomes has, what Lamar Jackson has, what Joe Burrow has. You look at the quarterbacks in the AFC. You don't develop that kind of talent. Those are God-given gifts. And so when you say this team's set up for a playoff run like they were in 99 after they beat the Chiefs, after they beat the Chiefs in 99, we had Rich Gannon, Tim Brown, Charles Woodson, Eric Allen. Until we store up our quarterback, this is the year, JT. We got a shot. There's enough guys in the draft. I'm a Caleb Williams guy. Do whatever you take to go up and get him. If you can't, Drake May. We need a young stud quarterback in this division because of the 14 quarterbacks in the playoffs this year, JT, 11 were first-round picks. 1, Jalen Hurts, second round. 1, Dak Prescott, third, and Brock Purdy. Tom Brady isn't going to happen again. Lightning doesn't strike twice. He got drafted in the 6th round, became the greatest of all time. We've got to find a way to get a young gunslinger that when we walk on the field says, this guy can go toe-to-toe with Justin Herbert. This guy can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Because with all due respect, Aiden O'Connell didn't lead anything on Christmas Day. We won in spite of him because he didn't complete a pass after the first quarter. The defense scored 2 touchdowns. Nice kid. Could be a solid backup. I want a special player at the most important position in football, JT, because until the Raiders have that, we can't say this is a playoff team year in and year out. But anyway, I like the direction the franchise is headed. Thanks for letting me rant. Congratulations, Coach Pierce and Mr. Telesco. Now let's get to work, and I'll give you a phone tomorrow on my prediction because I'm with you, JT. I don't want to see a red storm of 49er and Chiefs fans in Vegas. I got a feeling one of the teams are going to make it, and I'll call you tomorrow and tell you this. Yeah,
thanks a lot, Chris. Appreciate it. Almost as good as my smack off call, man. Whoa, Chris taking liberty, going hard, and for Chris in West Oakland, a pure made man on this show, to say he loves the Telesco hire. Chris knows a lot more about the Raiders than I have throughout my life, and for Chris to say that, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the ability to get a GM in here. And again, how could you not love Champ Kelly, right? I don't know what the role of Champ's going to be. Let the insiders who break news let us know. I think I'll see Champ later today or tomorrow. Whatever happens here, the Raiders' next move is the offensive coordinator. If you want to get in the chat on YouTube, JT the Brick YT, we got a bunch of people in there already. Friends of the show, put in who you like as the offensive coordinator because they are working hard. They are working hard over there. I'm telling you, they barely had a chance to have the press conference yesterday over there in Henderson because they're interviewing everybody for the OC. That was like a break in the action. Then here, Mark Davis, these guys got to get back to work. They had to get back to work and do that. NorCal Raider, you're up next on the Raiders mobile app. Go ahead.
Hey, JJ.
Doing well.
This is the first time I've gone back. I really thought about this. This is the first time we've actually we've always wanted our coach to be the person in charge and leading the team in a direction. But I like the personnel. I like that Antonio Pierce going to deal with day-to-day stuff. developing people, making sure people are in line. And I like Telesco's going to bring in all the prospects from the outside. So that's a really good hire with experience. Like, we haven't had an experienced GM. We've always had some projects that didn't turn out. McKinney did pretty good, but just a lot of questionable drafts from our previous GMs. But I like the hire. I'm just hoping that we get a good offensive coordinator, and I really want them to focus on a quarterback. I wouldn't mind taking Penix. It'll probably be like a 12 to 20 pick if he gets left out. Also bring in a mature quarterback, maybe like a Joe Flacco that can kind of guide those guys, keep guys in mind. Guys older, won a Super Bowl. Can actually go in and play a game if needed and has experience. So that's really what I want, and just I just want them either draft an offensive lineman in the first round or something.
Yeah. All right. Let me jump in. They're not bringing in Joe Flacco. Okay, they're not bringing in the Joe Flacco type. Yesterday, Jeremy Fowler put out at ESPN. I think Jeremy Fowler is an accomplished NFL insider. He put out clickbait on Russell Wilson to the Raiders. I sat in this studio and talked about Russell Wilson to the Raiders before he went to Denver because it made a lot of sense. His wife is a Las Vegas style entertainer. She probably wants to live in Vegas. Go ask these Raider wives and the executives who I know. Go ask the Raider wives if they love Vegas. They love Vegas. The players love Vegas. If Russell Wilson was at a cheap level that made sense for the Raiders, I'm sure the Raiders would at least look at that. I'm not saying Tom Telesco would do that, nor do I think he's going to do that. I don't know Tom Telesco. Looking forward to meeting him. But when it comes down to the Raiders, they got to nail the quarterback. And I think Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and especially Caleb Williams. I told you my opinion on this, and hold me to it, because now the videos will live on YouTube, is that Caleb Williams is worth 3 first-round picks. The other quarterbacks are worth 2. And I've talked to people about that. Not every quarterback now who goes in the top 3 is worth 3 first-round picks. Caleb Williams is. If Mahomes was coming out of the draft now, you know how many first-round picks he would have been worth? Maybe 1, because no one knew Patrick Mahomes. Caleb Williams was better than Patrick Mahomes coming out of college. He'll require 3 first-round picks. If the Raiders would like to give up 3 for Caleb Williams, I will pick him up at the airport. I will walk him into Raider Nation. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is the year to go get a quarterback if you want one. The veterans that we'll talk about in the offseason, the veterans who could be available are Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, and Kirk Cousins. Those are the ones, and they're all good. They're all very good, very good. And they have Aiden O'Connell here. Aiden O'Connell played well. Better than I thought down the stretch. But there's a lot of growth there. I'll jump into the YouTube chat, and then we come back on the other side. More of your phone calls, 702-365-9200. We are also brought to you by Resorts World, right there on the Strip, Doghouse Saloon. Great place to go for sports, the sports book, and nightly entertainment. All right, so now we're in commercial on the radio, and I get to jump in on the chat, and thanks for listening. How long we go there? We went about 30 minutes. How many other radio hosts can talk 30 minutes? Not many. We had a lot of fun there. Thanks to see some familiar names there. Just win 7-4. I don't think Russell Wilson would know how to be a Raider. Fair enough. Charles Washington, crazy talk. O'Connell is good enough. Wow, my son's in there. You can see my son who set this up. Wheel says Harbaugh. I don't know what that means. Harbaugh, you wanted Harbaugh or you want to go after Harbaugh? Josh Torres, Zach Robinson can't go wrong with the McVay tree. Fabian, the OC is a tough one. Yeah, we know that, Fabian. That's why we got you in the chat. You're supposed to give me one. Joseph Torres, again, Chris from West Oakland makes good points. We need a quarterback. But doesn't seem like any of the top 3 will be willing to trade down. I would agree. I think it's going to be absolutely brutal to trade up to get a quarterback. It's going to be hard, but that's why Tom Telesco was brought in. Jerry says, turn the callers up. That's what we're trying to figure out. I can't. This is a chat. You're going to pick up some background noise from time to time. We're going to figure out how to put the callers in. What I'm doing is I'm taking my headset and putting it up against the microphone in the short term. And hold on, I get some water here. Let's go. Frank Rodriguez. Is this the first day with the YouTube stream? No, I've had the YouTube stream up for a while. I've been just doing it at home. But, the Raiders, where the Raiders are going as an organization down the road with us and our partnership, and you see all the stuff we do in the Raiders studio. Look out. There's a lot more cool stuff to come. Mick from Hayward, one of my longest callers ever, longest standing. What's up? Appreciate it. Ray says, hopefully the Raiders hire an OC that fits the Raider way. Draft a mobile quarterback behind a quality free agent. Well, what's the difference between Bo Nix and Aiden O'Connell? I think Bo Nix is a better prospect than Aiden O'Connell. But if you don't get one of the top three guys out of the gate, what do? Mario says, let's go, JT. I hope Raider Nation looks at the disrespect to AP by the dischargers announcing Harbaugh on AP's day. I wouldn't look much into that. I mean, I give the Chargers credit. They didn't let Harbaugh out of the building. If they let Harbaugh out of the building, Harbaugh might have ended up in Atlanta. So, Pedro, hey, Brick, what year did you play for the Raiders? That is funny. And also, as I'm here on the live stream, I could take calls from my friend JOD. You're live on YouTube, and I know you're a YouTube guy, right?
Congratulations on being on YouTube there.
Thank you, brother.
I'm with this Tony Caputo on the car right now.
Oh, Mr. Caputo. Good to talk to you guys. I'm around all weekend. Let's give a plug to the JOD at the greatest bar to ever have a steak at in your life. One steak. Guys, I'm on the air till 2. I'll see you right afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Love you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you tonight. We got Sarah tonight.
I'll be there later. Yep.
Just coming back. We're going to keep this segment kind of short. We're going to try to get Sherman at 45.
No, Sherman can't go. He's at lunch. He's out.
Okay, we can just go then. One call, Coleman.
Okay, who's that?
Jay in Vegas.
Jay? Okay.
This is Pierce. Sorry, this is Tedesco from the back. Talking about evaluating O'Connell.
With us for Las Vegas's best happy hour with 50% off drinks 5 to 7 p.m. and 12 to 2 a.m. daily. It's at a tavern near you today.
Aiden is a great quarterback from Ronald. Build him up. I got no problem with Aiden O'Connell. I have no problem with Aiden O'Connell having an opportunity to compete. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell played well. He's not Caleb Williams. He knows that. Let's see what he can do. So, yeah, this thing when we're in commercial for the YouTube live stream in the future, I'll be able to answer questions, jump in. Here we go.
Brought to you by the DeCastro Verde Law Group. If you get into an accident, call 702-222-9999.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I just said before. It's like I have a lot of learning to do to figure out this team from the inside, not from the outside. Obviously, Aiden played pretty well against us, so that's a plus. But I need to get a lot more in depth with this team as far as more than just a couple games, and then talk with the staff. So we got to do that at every position, and that's really probably number one. Is at least for me, I have to get to know this team as well as I knew the team I just came from, which I don't yet. But I'm gonna get there pretty quick.
I thought you saw growth with Aiden. I thought at the end of the season he was playing some really good football. Obviously, that led to some wins for us. But taking care of the football, being responsible, being more vocal, I think he put himself in a position to learn what it's like to be a pro in offseason because he could reflect on what he just did, right? If he didn't have those opportunities, he would never know what mistakes he made. So I think it was a great learning tool for him. Now that we have it on film, like Tom said, to evaluate it, really look at it going forward.
Welcome back to the flagship of the Silver and Black. This is Raider Nation Radio on the Raiders mobile app. And look at this YouTube studio. We got a lot of people in here, which is great. We love this YouTube feature. Go to YouTube if you want to watch the show, which there isn't much to watch. It's just me in the studio here. Bobby's running the board. But we're going to do more and more. I envision more guests, and we'll be talking about the playoffs. And now I know how to do this from Radio Row, as we'll be live from Radio Row. We got a program director here in Q who's working really, really hard. He's a young guy who understands the importance of Radio Row, gets it. Get there early, stay late, put out a lot of content, and we will on the flagship of the Raiders. We're going to have a great setup down there. The Raiders are going to have a monster setup. So we'll be doing some original programming for the Raiders there. And also, this is not a pure Raiders show. I talk sports. I talk about sports for 2 hours a day. Predominantly at this time, I talk about the silver and black. But if there's breaking news in another sport, watched the NBA last night. I thought Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is doing this is dirty. What's going on with Doc Rivers to the Bucks and ESPN and Doc bailing on ESPN and Doris Burke is now by herself with Mike Breen. There's a lot of meat on the bone with that topic with the NBA, and we'll talk more about that as we get going. Levi Edwards will join us from the Raiders building coming up there. Levi's got some new content as he sat down exclusively with Tom Telesco. So hopefully we get an opportunity to do that too. And look for Antonio Pierce. You just heard him and Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco is going to come into the building and get to know the building. I watched Dave Ziegler do it. I watched Mike Mayock do it. I watched Reggie do it up in Oakland. All the GMs that I've worked with in the past. Raider Nation knows how important their role is. Tom Telesco comes from the Chargers. Why did he get the job? He got the job because of A, his experience, and B, he got through that competition committee that he had an interview in front of, and they believe in his vision of experience going into this offseason to make a difference. Look, there's no more. Usually when we're in a spot like this, I got hired the same day John Gruden did in 1998. No one knew me. They all knew John Gruden, and he was the youngest head coach in the NFL at that time. And I remember what was it like? The Raider fans wanted a rebuild. They wanted something different because the team at times didn't hit rock bottom, but they weren't playing great Raider football. First 4 years I was with the team, 2 AFC championship games and a Super Bowl. Does anybody raise your hand, beep your horn in the chat? Remember the Raider rallies at Jack London Square? 10,000 people. 10,000 people at Jack London Square for the Raider rally going into the playoffs. Does anybody remember Metallica? The supergroup Metallica playing, go YouTube it, Metallica at the Oakland Coliseum, right? Do you remember that? Remember doing pregame shows with George Atkinson, Artie Gigantino outside in between now Oracle Arena, where the Warriors used to play in the Coliseum, 8,000 to 10,000 people live on the pregame show. That's when the Raiders were winning, and we thought that was going to be like that every year. There was a 20 years where the Raiders haven't been back. We had one Super Bowl appearance with Derek Carr, losing to Cincinnati, who ended up going to the Super Bowl and losing. And the Raiders need more playoff appearances now. Antonio Pierce won the Super Bowl with Tom Coughlin, Eli, and the Giants. He knows what it takes to go into Green Bay in the third coldest game of all time and win. He knows what it's like to get off the bus as a Super Bowl champion in Dallas and beat the Cowboys or beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. That's the DNA of this coach now. And for Tom Telesco, he's got to add players quickly, because Dave Ziegler had a big, expansive, long-term plan that made a lot of sense, how he wanted to build scouting and do that to find the right players. Tom Telesco comes in with a lot more experience, and he's going to have to find diamonds late in the draft. But I wonder what's going to happen in this first round. If the Raiders at 13 want to trade up to 10, can they get a quarterback? What will it take to trade up to 5? Will it be 2 first-round picks to get Jaden Daniels? I don't know. That's all Tom Telesco's side of the building, but he's got the experience to go do that. 702-365-9200. Jay in Vegas. Jay, thanks for calling in. We appreciate it. What's happening?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, JP. So I called earlier in the week, JP, when it was unofficial that he was Tom Telesco was going to be the general manager. And I hope I didn't come off negative. I put out that there were 0 division title ones and 3 wild card berths in his tenure in those 10 years. I didn't want to come off as negative. I just pointing out the numbers. But after I hung up with you, JT, I'm like, you know what, man, I got to do a deep dive. I got to see what happened over there. And please correct me if I'm wrong with what I'm about to say. But looking at the situation that he had, Tom Telesco was in the Chargers. He did not have the final say as it came to, with the deals, getting free agents, maybe even in terms of the draft, and especially with head coach. I believe it was his son, John Spanos, Dean Spanos' son, that was the ultimate decider of which way they were going to go. So I was, really looking could do better, but he has found a lot of good players. And you're right, JT. The Chargers have had a better roster in recent years, obviously, especially with quarterback, JT. So I kind of used an analogy, and I was like, well, dang, it seems to me like Tom Telesco is like a chef at Grimaldi's. Best pizza I ever had. Brooklyn Bridge, that's my favorite, with the ricotta cheese on top.
Yes.
But it's unfortunate that it looks like he was that type of chef working at Domino's. And I mean, nothing against Domino's Pizza, but it's not Grimaldi's. And he talks about when he got in the building and looking at the facilities, the look on his face, like he was blown away by the facilities and what the Raiders have to offer. Like that's what really the part of the press conference that kind of blew me away, because now he's like, this is a different ballgame here. And also with Mark Davis, it's a different dynamic. Listen, people may say what they want about Mark Davis. He may be a little impatient, but he's not a meddler. And I believe that he's really going to let Tom Telesco cook and really maximize Tom Telesco's skill set. So I'm really encouraged, JK, and I kind of do hope that they do move up and make a splash and get one of these top 5 prospects, because if they shore up and get a really
Yeah, thanks for the call. Yeah, appreciate the call, and thanks for the Grimaldi's mention. Grimaldi's the best pizza I ever had. What I love about this YouTube live stream, and again, I don't want to start it and stop it, but there's days I can't do it. There's other days we can, but we're going to try to be consistent with this. All of our partners get to be heard on YouTube, and we have great partners here. They call them advertisers. I call them partners that work with us here on the flagship of the Silver and Black Raider Nation Radio. But yeah, you get callers mentioning Grimaldi's, Modelo, the DeCastroverde Law Group. How about them? I'm having dinner tonight with Alec DeCastroverde later on tonight. A proud partner of our show here. If you get into an accident, you're in Vegas. Seen the roads out here lately, Bobby? Can we clean up these orange cones if no one's doing construction? I almost got out of the car the other day. My wife's saying, get back in the car. I am going to start picking up orange cones if they're there for no reason. We don't want to become that town. I've preached this to everybody. The reason why Vegas is great. I live on the mean streets of Summerlin. We have no traffic, zero. I lived in San Francisco, LA. You see the traffic in San Diego. We cannot allow Vegas to have traffic. When I'm floating down the 215 and my dad's in the car and he goes, true story, he's 85, there's no potholes. No, Dad, we don't have potholes. It doesn't rain, and if there was a pothole, we'd fix it. But if you come to Vegas, get into an accident, the DeCastroverde Law Group, 702-222-9999. Yeah, people are asking me now about potholes in the chat here. I grew up in Long Island, New York, the Southern State Parkway, man. We had a lot of potholes. We had a tough time driving. Thor is out in Summerlin, original black hole on top of the fact of the Raider Nation Drinking Club. And my cigar buddy, Thor, we had a good time the other night watching the games together.
Yes, sir, JT, we sure did, man. I'm actually just pulling up to the cigar box right now, speaking of cigars. And speaking of potholes, nothing is worse than Oakland. Oakland is the worst pothole city in the world. So, yeah, Summerlin is incredible with the roads and all that. But let's talk about Raider football. I'm excited about the new GM, Telesco. I'm just excited to get it going. I'm glad that Harbaugh went to the Chargers. I want to play who people consider the best, right? So when we talk about Andy Reid and Sean Payton and Harbaugh, and then you throw in Antonio Pierce, and no one really is going to consider him one of them yet, well, go ahead, AP, and make your name. Be one of them. I love the fact that AP, and it feels like Tom Telesco, don't have an ego about themselves. They're willing to, let's talk to Marvin Lewis's, let's talk to whoever, let's figure it out and get it right. Let's get input from the players. Let's get input from old coaches, old GMs, old offensive gurus, whatever, and let's get it right. I'm so excited to see what this team does now, and there's no excuses. When you play the best and you beat the best, we were 4-2 in this division. Let's not get it twisted. We're really close. So when you play the best and beat the best, you have an opportunity to be the best. Let's get it done, man. I'm fired up, man. I know we're not far away. Let's go.
Thanks, Thor. Take care, Thor. Thanks for the call. Good to see you out the other night. If you're in YouTube, you live in the YouTube world, we got a great group here now. I'm excited. I see a lot of new people I've never seen before and a lot of other people who want to jump in. Loco6 says, yo, JT, longtime listener, hearing you on the Raiders app. Now I get to watch on YouTube. Love it. Hot Rod, once you figure out how to get up the callers, well, I'm using the headset here. I'm not tech support. My wife is great at that. Fabian, JT from the mean streets of Summerlin. I got that from Ed Graney. Got to give Graney credit for that. Hey, we want to thank the 872 laborers led by Tommy White, proud partner of our show. We're racing to the top of the hour. Levi Edwards from the Raiders next hour on the flagship of the Silver and Black. All right, back to me again. Appreciate this. Yes, touchdown, Tim Brown. I'm liking this. This is good, man. You know, this is why we have partners on the radio. If you want to do business with us, we can get your business up on YouTube and up here on Raiders Radio. How cool is that? You know, the other thing is here with Harbaugh, I would look like a bleeping idiot if I came on the air today and said Harbaugh sucks. Harbaugh's no good. Harbaugh's not going to win. No. Harbaugh is outstanding. And if Harbaugh was the head coach of the Raiders, you would be happy. But I think more people are generally happy for AP, Antonio Pierce, because he deserves it. He deserved to be rewarded as the head coach, and I'm excited about that for him. I'm more shocked that Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, doesn't have any offers out there. You're telling me the Carolina Panthers hired a head coach without having Bill Belichick down there? It's true. I think people are intimidated. A lot of people think, oh, I can't get into the Super Bowl party. I don't have a ticket. Yeah, you can. Just go up to the front and act like you belong. Everybody's intimidated. And Bobby, we talked about this. Everybody's intimidated to interview Bill Belichick. How's Bill Belichick not the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders, Carolina Panthers? Crazy. Yeah, so we'll do Levi. I'll text him a right time. We'll move Jeff Sherman. He wasn't available. And we'll just keep taking some calls and Hardcore Raider, good to see you. Whoa, Mikey Orlando needs the phone number. What are you talking about, Mikey? It's 702-365-9200. You know better than that, Mikey. We need some sharp picks. I'm about to go on a rant about keeping the Swifties out of Vegas. Yeah, I know. And then we're going to
You can do this the whole 2 hours?
I don't know. It's good. It's good, dude. Yeah, we this is working well. We got 77 people in here. I'm not saying that's great or not. I don't know. But yeah. Bobby said if we got 70 people watching, feel free to call in if you want.
No, it's like, give me 3 bleeping callers. I need them.
What did James Diablo say? All good coaches in AFC West. Yep. No doubt about that. Ty says, got to keep the Chiefs out of the locker room. I'm going to hit on that next. Taylor Swift art. Yeah, I've seen that before. My wife's a Swiftie. My wife likes Taylor Swift. My nieces like Taylor Swift. I don't. I like Rush. I've seen Rush 54 times. I'm going to see the Rolling Stones in Vancouver July 5th and here at Allegiant Stadium. Oh, and they announced today, November 9th, Billy Joel and Sting. I tell you, I saw Sting at the Coliseum in Vegas. It was Top 5 show. I went in with no expectations, came out of it. It was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. And I grew up, Billy Joel grew up in the next town where I grew up. I grew up in Massapequa, and Billy Joel grew up in Hicksville. So the backdrop of my youth was Billy Joel. Scenes from an Italian restaurant. Any chance we'll hear any Cliff Kingsbury news today? I doubt it. I think the Raiders are going on a really extensive dive with this OC. Here we go.
Brought to you by Local 872, your workforce solution.
I did tell him that, right? We talked about that. Yeah, he wasn't happy. He didn't see Jax play, though, right? Can I tell you the story? So, boom, here it goes. I'm telling anyway. So yeah, he's like, I was getting mad. I'm coming down the elevator, and, we're at score-wise, and we're pushing on defense, and he stays in the elevator, and I think Jack Jones just intercepted the ball while he was up there. And he's like, why? Like, why? That's enough.
I don't say anything like it.
Yeah.
JT back in the headquarters of the Silver and Black Lotus Broadcasting Studio. Hope everybody's doing well as we continue on. Having a lot of fun with this YouTube live feed so you can see what's going on. Here's the deal. We need everybody to like and subscribe. That's coming from my son who's in the chat. This whole thing about YouTube, you got to like and you got to subscribe. Subscribe and you'll know when we're going live here. But we're trying to build this thing up one day. It'll be where we want it to be, but you're some of the original people here. So dive on in, hit subscribe and like. I guess that's what you got to do to make this work, and we'd appreciate it. So everybody who's in there, I'm assuming you're in here, please subscribe. It's one click away, as we appreciate that. Very quickly, a couple people in the chat here on YouTube said we got to keep the Swifties in Kansas City out of Allegiant Stadium. Yes, we do. There's no other way to sugarcoat it at all. You can't sugarcoat it at all. Okay, we can't have Kansas City in our building, in our headquarters. We can't. If Kansas City wins the game fair and square, they deserve to be in our headquarters and in our stadium. Got Lamar Jackson, who's a great player. They've destroyed everybody good this year. Baltimore is the favorite at home. They got to find a way to win the game. Mike in Staten, Italy. Mikey, I need a play on these games because Baltimore laying 4. I thought Derek Stevens took it from 3.5 to 4. I'm looking at the Westgate Superbook. What are you seeing in New York City? How do we bet the Ravens game against Kansas City?
Okay, JT, I have two. I'm not going to make my decision. I want to see where that total gets closer to the end. We've had this discussion before. You don't think it's a big difference, 3, 4, 4.5. But I made 2 bets already, JT. I bet over Mahomes 26 yards rushing, and I bet over 67 yards by Jackson running in that game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they're going to play a lot of deep zones. And both quarterbacks are going to run a little bit. The 49ers-Lions game, JT, I almost hit my big lottery ticket last week. I had the Packers to win outright, and I also had them with the gift of 9 points. There's something about this 49er team that, I don't like. I think the Lions' offensive line is going to dominate. I think I like the under in this game, and I like the Lions plus the 7. I'll probably buy the hook, make it 7.5. So there's my bet. I'm going to take the Lions, make the total 7.5. I'm going to take a under, and then as of right now, I'm taking the over in both quarterbacks throwing the rushing totals. I'm also going to take a flyer at 6-1 on Mahomes scoring a touchdown, anytime touchdown. That's where I'm going playing. JT, I told you for the last 3 years I know you. 3 out of 4 home teams win every weekend on the week before. And it happened again. The Chiefs win the last game, 3 out of 4 teams.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. You can't fight the stats. But that right now, JT, that's what I have.
Thanks, Mikey. Appreciate the call. And Mikey's big players, he likes both quarterbacks running over the total of their props. So both Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson going over the total there. Again, I don't gamble. People say, you've never placed a bet? No, I've never placed a bet. And my son is on the chat too, and I remind him there's nothing good if you lose a lot and continue to gamble. I'd live under a bridge on the 215 over at Durango if that happened, and I don't want to do that. I have a beautiful house, a beautiful wife, so I don't gamble. But I talk to a lot of gamblers, and I hang out with a lot of gamblers, and that's why I try to give you a little bit of gambling advice. Hey, everybody, if you want to go to the YouTube page, looking good, looking strong, YouTube, JT the Brick, YT, hour number 2 coming up next. All right, everybody. I am going to take a break for a moment. Hope you stay here. We're going to do another monologue here at the top of the hour on a couple other topics, and then I'll be back. And then I'll probably sign off here. We've been going an hour already. Let me ask you in the chat, would you rather have the whole show be here 2 hours? Would you rather just have the monologue? You know, the first 20 minutes of my monologue is what I take pride of. What do you want to see? And gambling and more, anything you think makes sense here, put it in the chat. But I'm going to go about another 15 or 20 minutes if you stick around. Now, this is fun. This is when Bobby goes and gets his cigarette. This is what Bobby at the top of the hour, if you try to call, you obviously know no one is there because Bobby is having a smoke. There's nothing wrong with having a smoke. If you smoke, I don't smoke either. But this is great. Everyone wants the whole show, and we'll put it up there and appreciate it. I will be right back.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1925. With torque vector and super handling all-wheel drive and a 355-horsepower turbo V6, the Acura TLX Type S is engineered to go fast. And with 4-piston Brembo front brakes, it's also engineered to stop fast. The 2023 Acura TLX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance. Visit Finley Acura in the Valley Auto Mall or online at finleyacura.com. Hey everybody out there, it's Joey from Sky Diamonds in Town Square. Did you know that Sky Diamonds is the only store in Las Vegas that carries up to 10-carat natural diamonds in stock? If you're looking for a 3, 5, 7, or 10-carat diamond, we have it. We are Las Vegas's true diamond importer. Let me introduce you to the lady. She's a rare beauty like your woman. A 10-carat natural fancy canary yellow diamond, GIA certified, with colorless trapezoids on each side. There's not another one like her in the entire world. Come to Sky Diamonds and try the lady on.
Ash here from Sam and Ash Injury Law. Let's face it, accidents happen. And when they do, you need someone on your side who knows how to navigate the car crash chaos. That's where Sam and Ash comes in. Unlike other firms, we're not just your attorneys. We're your partners during your road to recovery. We've got your back, literally. So don't wait. If you've been hurt in a crash, call Sam and Ash, 702-820-1234, or visit samandashlaw.com. Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right.
This is JT for Grimaldi's Pizzeria, that famous New York-style coal-fired brick oven pizza that you crave. 4 locations in the Valley, Boca Park in Summerlin, on the Strip at the Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow, and in Green Valley on Southeastern Avenue.
If you've been in an accident due to someone else's fumble, remember, it's not about the injury, it's about the recovery. Hi, this is Paul Pata of Paul Pata Law. You know, just like a football game, life brings unexpected plays that can blindside us. Our winning team of legal experts will tackle your accident case, helping you recover emotionally, physically, and
I don't know.
financially.
There might be breaking news on the OC tomorrow, so I don't know.
You know what I mean? Could be an interesting time because could be an offensive coordinator.
Sean Patrick's Sierra Golden Escape Bar is your local's hotspot for happy hour with 50% off drinks every day. Voted best happy hour in Las
Look at
Vegas.
those are. These are cuts from the monologue.
Yeah, the same ones are up there.
Yep.
Good.
We see you at happy hour from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily with 50% off drinks. With over 60 locations, there's always the PTs near you. Visit PT.
Whole show, huh? Call him Akon, not AOC, for Aiden O'Connell. I agree. Hey, not everybody needs a nickname, by the way. You know, not everybody has to. You can be called Aiden O'Connell.
All right, here we go.
Appreciate you being a fan since the Ticket 1050 years, man. Those are good years. I've always had the best radio show in the Bay Area, even though some people spin it the other way.
I don't know. No one knows. Whenever we crack a microphone, we're one of
right, here we go. Hour number 2. Appreciate everybody being there. We go take a.
People are going to go and buy tickets to come into our building. It's the best time in all of football. Now I got your attention. JT the Brick. I want to hear about the work in progress. Got to win this game. That is bleeping real right now. Everybody gets the Bowl playbook. You run the playbook faster. The plays get in and out of the huddle quicker. And you run the plays like you ran in Henderson. And you run them to perfection in the game. Do we all agree?
And now, it's Captain Obvious. Here's JT.
We're back. Hour number 2 on the live stream on YouTube. JT the Brick YT. Real simple. YT is for YouTube. And all of our proud partners here on the flagship of the Silver and Black, brought to you by M Resort, a spa and casino. A lot of people are asking me about Super Bowl parties. What's the hookup for the Super Bowl party? There's 2 types of parties. The ones you can't get into at the Super Bowl, the ones you can't get into because it's insane and it's $5,000 or bottle service, and then the ones you can get into because they're great. I got one for you. Ditka Jaws, Mike Ditka, Ron Jaworski, their great cigar party is going to be at the M Resort, and they're a proud partner of our show the Thursday of the Super Bowl. Tickets are on sale, real easy to go to. Bring a cigar, come outside. Hall of Famers everywhere. Hall of Famers everywhere, and a great time. And if you want to shoot across town and go to another party, and you want to go to the Wynn, you want to go to Encore, you want to go to Circa, you want to go to Resorts World, all of our partners, other partners, go to wherever you want. But it's the haves and have-nots. We saw that in town at F1. I went to an F1 party. It was a pretty good. It was probably, I said this to everybody who gets it. The F1 parties were 10 times bigger than the Super Bowl. The viewing parties where you can watch the race. At the Super Bowl, you're either inside Allegiant Stadium, you're in the stadium, you're at the game, or you're watching on TV. F1, you were able to be at every part of the track where you wanted to, and everything was open bar, swordfish, pasta. It was the most incredible thing. Now, it wasn't packed. I don't think they nailed everything right the first time with F1, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Now they got to make those tickets a little bit more affordable so more people can experience that. You know, at the Super Bowl, been at 25 plus Super Bowls. 25. The first one I've been to was Wide Right as a fan. And then I've covered them all in sports radio. So I've been to a lot of Super Bowls as a fan or in the building. This is a big test for Las Vegas. And the Las Vegas Super Bowl committee, everything that they're going to start rolling out. If you notice, and if you live in Vegas, the television commercials are now starting to come in about the Super Bowl breakfast and viewing parties and whatever's going to happen. It's too early to talk about that here in Vegas. We're going to have a number of deals that are coming together. I know my buddy Mike at La Casa Cigars at Tivoli Village, La Casa Cigars, is going to have a Super Bowl party there too, and I hang out there a lot. That could be an option for you. But if you're going to go to the Super Bowl, you got to spend some money. You know how much a Raider game to cost? You know how much a Raider ticket to the Minnesota Vikings cost? Getting into the Super Bowl, if you're fortunate enough to get in there, go have a good time. Yes, I was at Wide Right. I was at that game, and I don't think I'd be behind the microphone today if I wasn't at that game. That changed me as a fan. Whitney Houston and the anthem, helicopters over my head, Iraq War, Parcells versus Jim Kelly and Marv Levy. Man, it was crazy to be a fan and to be in there. All right, I want to play a little bit of sound coming up from what we heard yesterday on Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce, for those who are listening. We'll be able to hear some of this. First off, Tom Telesco talked about what piqued his interest along the way and why he wanted the job.
I mean, there's just such a storied history here and tradition.
You know, I grew up as a kid. I'm obviously a football fan, NFL fan. They've known me a long time. It'd be a chance to be part of an organization with Al Davis' legacy. It's just like, it's so exciting to have. And then on top of that, when you look at the resources that are here,
and the head coach that's here, I think we can win. That's why I want to be here. There's 2 things I was really looking for. One was fit. I want to work with people that I like. And 2, I want to win. And those 2 both go together, that we can win and work together and really enjoy this journey. It's a tough journey. I mean, it's a hard job. We all know the pressures that come with the job, but we can work side by side with a smile on our face and get things done. So it was, 2 things: find the right fit and a chance to win. And that's what I have here.
I think that's really important. I think that's great that Tom Telesco mentioned Al Davis wanting to win, wanting to work with people. That was no joke when he showed up in the building the other day, and he didn't know anybody because they greeted him at the front to welcome him as the GM of the Raiders. Now he's got to get to meet everybody. I think he's going to be pretty impressed with who he meets along the way. But that was a really, I think, good soundbite from him on wanting to win, and throwing in Al Davis always helps at a press conference. His roster building, his philosophy, he was asked about that.
I wouldn't even use the word consulted. I mean, when I said partnership, it's a partnership. So obviously there's a lot of people that are part of the process. You have the scouting staff and the coaching staff. You kind of bring it all together in the end to make decisions. But, as far as building a roster, you're working through the vision of the head coach. How do you want to play offense? How do you want to play in defense? How do you want to play special teams? And you build it that way. There's a lot of discussions. You work through things. We're going to be able to bounce ideas off each other. As far as roster construction, there's no one specific way to build a team. I do believe in the draft. That's always, everybody always says it anyways, but I do believe in the draft. But you also have to supplement that with free agency. You have to supplement that with trade. You have to supplement that with signing players maybe are out of work or on the street looking for jobs and maybe come in and fit. You have to use every possible avenue you can under the constraints of salary cap, which is basically every move you make, even a draft pick. There's always cap considerations that we have to work through. But I think in this day and age, in this league, you better be flexible with how you build your team. It's so competitive, and we all really have the same resource when it comes to money in the cap. So, like I said, it's a partnership for a reason, because it's not a one-person job, and I don't have all the answers. So we're going to use all these people that we have, scouts, coaches, and head coach. We're going to make the right decisions for the Raiders.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Tom Telesco said that I don't have all the answers. He's going to get help within the building with what's established in the building and how to find a way to build a better roster. And I think it's a good roster. I can't speak for Tom Telesco, but I would say this much, that if I was looking for a job, I'd want to come to Las Vegas with no state taxes. I'd want to come to a brand like the Raiders, in a brand new stadium, in a brand new work environment, and a headquarters like that, with an established roster. I mean, go look at taking over the Carolina Panthers, or go look at some of these other teams that are bad when they bring in a new GM and you got to rebuild it from the scratch. Look at the Commanders. Okay, maybe Tom Telesco would have been a good fit for the Commanders. Well, it's not as good a fit as the Raiders when it comes to the roster. So it's very rare that a job opens up as a GM where you have a pretty good roster in place on a team that already made the playoffs. You could really take it to the next level if you do it right. And then Tom Telesco talked about Antonio Pierce and the fit and how they're going to work together.
Yeah, quite honestly, when I interviewed for this job, I didn't see this like it was like the head coach's job was open. I'm like, he's the head coach. AP came in, in short notice and produced on the field. He did not have a job, so he had a job at the end of the year. He was the head coach when I came in and interviewed. That's the way I kind of looked at it. Just the way he galvanized the team, he galvanized the building, he galvanized the fan base. So that is a huge part of it. So you have to get that right. So to have that in place, obviously, a big part of taking this job is to have that, to have a leader like this that we've already seen in the field what he can do. So it's exciting.
He also mentioned he saw what AP, Antonio Pierce, did on the field. He was there. The Raiders put up 63 on the Chargers. So he saw it. He saw that team and that roster and what happened to the Charger roster. A lot of that had to do with injuries, as Chargers had a lot of guys that were hurt. Got to remember that also in the Charger game. Raiders all-time points scored, all-time 63. 8 different players scored in that game. A lot of guys missing for the Chargers. That's kind of that's the problem what Tom Telesco had. He drafted good players. A lot of them were hurt, and they didn't have the coaching budget to go out and get big-time coaches. And I think now I don't know what Antonio Pierce is making. It's none of my business. Someone will put that out at some point. I don't get in front of guys' salaries. I don't know or care what Tom Telesco makes or Antonio Pierce. I just want him to win. We get to know what the players make because they make that public. And this will be made public too, but it's about going out there and winning. And one from Antonio Pierce, if we can play this, what they're looking for in an OC. The Raiders are in there today, and I think they're going to be in there because there's a lot of big names coming through on what they're looking forward to on the offensive side.
No, I'll be honest. Just like everything else that we've done throughout this process, I honestly believe this. I don't think everybody's meant to be for the Raiders. I don't think everybody's meant to play for the Raiders or coach for the Raiders. I think that's going to be something I really dig into as we go into that process. But more importantly, somebody that's the way the game is, and AP wants to run the ball. No, AP just wants to run a style of football and run the ball the football style a certain way. But it's the approach. It's being a teacher. It's being somebody standing in front of this room and the man that's looking at them, like you looking at me, that they believe in the plan and the process and that they're a teacher. And that they can adjust on the fly, right? Because that's what this game's about. Style of play, I think that's all it's going to vary. There's a lot of things that goes into that, right? I mean, we know that we have some positions on our roster that we need to look at and evaluate even more. Tom and myself as we go forward. But you know what you see in the National Football League. You got to be able to run the football, play action pass, and what are the Raiders known for? The vertical passing game, right? So we want to see the shots down the field. We want the explosive plays. So that has to be a part of the creativity. You look at the shifts, the motion, all that stuff goes into it. I'm not going to give my whole hat away and tip, but just think of when Raiders are playing really good football, and that's when your offensive coordinator hopefully as we go forward.
I'll just go with his answer. No, I think the one thing I talked about in the interview is you want to have an identity. The Raiders have an identity on offense. It's speeding at the ball downfield. So I think that's going to definitely want to be at least part of that. But there's more that goes along with that. As far as being able to run the ball when you have to run it and play action pass. But we'll find the right head coach or the right offensive coordinator that's going to fit this team at this time.
Yep, that's Tom Telesco and Antonio Pearson trying to find the right offensive coordinator. I think that's massive. They got it right on defense. Patrick Graham, Antonio Pierce, Marvin Lewis. God, Marvin Lewis is a good coach, and his teams. Well, that's an interesting point, Bobby, that I wanted to make on Marvin Lewis. He's another guy that worked for Mike Brown in Cincinnati who did not have any resources. Cincinnati had bad airlines. This is talking to players who played for them. So I know this topic. Cincinnati had bad food, bad cafeteria, bad field practice facility, bad weight room. And Marvin Lewis had him in the playoffs a lot. And Marvin Lewis is a good coach, and Marvin Lewis has been coaching a long time. His name needs to be brought up more and more. No doubt about it. And a lot of people are on the YouTube chat saying, Telesco doesn't control injuries. You're right. I don't know what to tell you. That's a really sticky topic. He drafted the players. Many of those players were injured eventually. Who gets the blame for that? I don't know. I don't know why they were injured. If you get a hamstring, you got a hamstring injury, which it seemed like Mike Williams or Keenan Allen had all the time. Is that Tom Telesco's fault that they had an injury? No. But he did get, and those who say, well, I heard a couple other people say that to me too. Well, Tom Telesco was fortunate because Justin Herbert dropped to him. Stop. I mean, every person that gets drafted, it's most of the time, if you don't have a top 2 pick, drops to you, and you're able to go get the player. I don't take it away. I don't put an asterisk on Justin Herbert going to the Chargers because he dropped to Tom Telesco. You get your players, and you get them however you get them, and they're part of your legacy tree of drafting. He's done a pretty good job drafting. Hardcore Raider on the YouTube feed. I love Marvin Lewis being part of this team. I hope the Raiders bring in Hugh Jackson to be a senior offensive coordinator assistant. Worked with you when he took over as the head coach of the team. I don't know where they stand with you. Hugh's a good guy. He's a friend with Cisco, a lot of the guys in the black hole, and we wish Hugh well. They're interviewing every possible today, yesterday, day before. Anyone who could be an offensive coordinator who's good is in the building. The Raiders are kind of interviewing them. The other question is, the Raiders decided not to interview Jim Harbaugh or Bill Belichick, who a lot of people think are great. It's an easy answer for me. Easy answer for me to say is that the Raiders were 100% behind Antonio Pierce. They were not going to muddy the water and make the Raider Nation go crazy by going out there and interviewing all these guys and turning them down. So the Chargers now are able to bring in a coach who's a winner. Jim Harbaugh is a winner. For the first time, Dean Spanos, going back to Marty Schottenheimer, has a coach he can win with. Tom Pelissero reporting from NFL.com, NFL Network. Harbaugh to the Chargers, Dave Canales to the Panthers. And again, he was with the Seattle program that turned Geno Smith around. Dave Canales did a great job with Baker Mayfield this year. Did I think that Dave Canales was going to be a head coach? No, but he's going to work well with Dan Morgan. They know each other well. Dan Morgan is the GM, the former linebacker there. Look, the Titans decided to hire Callahan, the son of Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan. Do I think he's a better coach than Mike Vrabel? I like Callahan a lot. He was with the Raiders. He's an up-and-coming guy. But Tennessee ended up whacking Mike Vrabel. And where the hell is Pete Carroll today? Where's Pete Carroll? Does Pete Carroll have to beg for a job? Like, where is Pete Carroll today? Reports are he wanted the Chargers job. Well, they went Jim Harbaugh. If you get Jim Harbaugh, you don't have to apologize to Pete Carroll or anybody else. Ian Rappaport an hour ago, the Commanders are expected to have their second in-person interview with Cowboys DC Dan Quinn early next week. He's currently meeting with the Seahawks for the second interview there. Well, this is breaking news. Here's what I would say on that. I wouldn't let Dan Quinn out of the building. Dan Quinn had a bad game. The game they lost to the Packers does not take up Dan Quinn's entire legacy. Dallas had a pretty good coach and a very good defense, and they did a good job. So Dan Quinn, who's meeting with Seattle today, who I always thought was going to be the decision to be there, you don't let him out of the building. The reports I saw yesterday on Jim Harbaugh was in the building for 2 days, and credit the Chargers, they didn't let him leave the building and get on the plane to Atlanta. No one in NFL history ever is close to Al Davis on that. If you came to interview for Al Davis, you did not know when your interview was going to end. He could have kept you there for 2 days. And Fudgy at the time, who we love, and the other executives and the assistants up there would just call the hotel and say he's staying another day. Or they'd call the airlines and say, change that flight. The Raiders have people in their building who work travel that can bring people in and do that. But Al Davis was incredible at that. And Al Davis could put you on the whiteboard for 3 hours, 4 hours, and go say, hey, go have lunch. We have lunch for you. Come back and put you on the whiteboard for 6 more hours. I'm assuming Mark Davis has a lot of that in him. I don't know how Mark conducts a meeting, but when he has that many people in there, they're trying to figure out who's the best. This comes in from Rick L. Zach Robinson should be the OC for the Raiders. That's a nice tree coming in from where he is. I would not be surprised. I like Alex Van Pelt. I've known that name a long time. I have friends who know him very well. It's another very good name. Look what he did with Cleveland this year with Joe Flacco after Deshaun Watson went down and all their problems there at quarterback. And he's been around a long, long time. And AP, what's this one? AP 64 Impala. Bobby, we got someone in the live feed on YouTube whose name is AP 64 Impala. That's a pretty cool name. Someone grabbed that up on YouTube. I couldn't grab JT the Brick. Someone stole my likeness. I'm JT the Brick YT for YouTube there. And the Impala guy says, Harbaugh's a head case. Everybody, I'm a head case. Everybody's a head case. AP 64 Impala said, get Russell Wilson or Cousins. Oh, look, that's a topic. I'm not running from that topic. I never run for anything. They're going to make a really big decision on a quarterback. They have to get one in the draft or they have to get a veteran. Aiden O'Connell, I would assume the best news for Aiden O'Connell is he's going to compete to be the starting quarterback of this team. Aiden O'Connell is going to be here the entire offseason, and he's going to be around, and he's going to be ready to go, and he's going to be ready to compete. And if he's ready to compete, that's going to be great. So, yeah, coming up next, we're going to have Levi Edwards. He just texted me back. He wrote a great column. And I'm going to sign off now. We have 115 people in our YouTube studio, which is great. It's not Pat McAfee numbers, but it's nice considering my son put this together, and today he sent me out of the house on his way to work at his job and said, Dad, you're doing this today. You're going live on YouTube. Did all the computer stuff, set it up, just said, plug in your microphone. I go, which one? Bobby has my microphone. He goes, no, bring your Yeti microphone. There it is on the video, the Yeti microphone. And we'll be back and do this. What's tomorrow, Bobby? Tomorrow's Friday. So we'll come in and do a little bit tomorrow, or I'll YouTube from home. Maybe I'll do it from home and do the show from home tomorrow and try it out there, even though it works. So thanks to everybody who's on our YouTube stream. If you can please subscribe and share, we thank you. I thought this was a good day for me. I've been on radio for 27 years, and we never really tried this. Because a lot of people don't care. I care. I want this to be the best radio station here, along with Q and Natalie and our partners here. I'm proud to work alongside the Raiders and Silver and Black Productions. Thanks for joining us. Levi Edwards will join us next for our radio audience. Thanks for tuning in. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks for doing this today. I'll do it again a bunch. So subscribe and get the alerts when we're coming on. And please tell some people about it. Share the video if you can. I think it was cool. We did about an hour and 25 minutes here. Everybody who's come in, I appreciate you. And thank you. And a couple people said, hey, great idea from your son. Yeah, my son's in there. Laz D says, good job. We like the people here. Fabian says that was one of the nice things about Scott had the show back in Vegas. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people like to do YouTube and want to be seen live and do all this. I like it now, but I could take it or miss it. We do a lot of good programming from the Raiders, and catch my Mad Dog radio show. I'll be doing Mad Dog radio from the Super Bowl Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from Radio Row, 4 to 7 p.m. So this was cool. Appreciate it a lot. Appreciate you coming in here. Keep listening to the show on Raider Nation Radio and the Raiders mobile app.